Welcome to Sexual Chemistry, brought to you by Skoob. I'm your host, Zoya Sinclair, and today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and complex phenomena of our time, hookup culture. Whether you're a college student navigating this landscape, a parent trying to understand it, or just someone curious about how modern romance has evolved, buckle up, because we're about to unpack the tangled web of casual encounters, dating apps, alcohol-fueled decisions, and the cultural forces that have reshaped how young Americans connect. From the psychology behind impulsive hookups to the social pressures that drive them and the impact they have on mental health and relationships, we'll explore the realities behind the headlines and the myths that surround this new era of intimacy. So settle in, because today we're uncovering the stories, the science, and the social shifts that define hookup culture in the 21st century. Let me paint you a picture of modern America. Walk onto any college campus today and you'll witness something unprecedented in human history. A generation that has fundamentally reimagined intimacy, romance, and sexual connection. But here's the thing. Hookup culture didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's actually a fascinating cocktail of the best and worst elements from the past century of American sexual culture. Think about it this way. Today's college students embody the liberated spirit of 1970s gay men, feeling empowered to pursue their desires without shame. They have the sexual exploration opportunities that middle-class youth enjoyed in the 1950s, but with better birth control and fewer shotgun weddings. And just like those rebellious young workers who embraced the electrifying nightlife of the 1920s, modern students crave novelty and the thrill of being a little wild. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite all this casual hooking up, students still fall in love. They still form committed, emotionally supportive relationships. Love finds a way, even in the most supposedly casual circumstances. It's almost poetic, isn't it? However, we've also inherited some seriously problematic baggage from the past 100 years. We're still trapped by gender stereotypes that date back to the Industrial Revolution. This toxic idea that separates love from sex, painting women's hearts as fragile while men's are supposedly unbreakable, suggesting men have these robust desires while women's barely flicker. On today's campuses, when a guy pursues sex, he's celebrated as embodying healthy, vigorous masculinity. But women? Their sexual desires are viewed through a completely different lens. If you're a woman of color, your sexuality gets filtered through racial stereotypes. If you're from a working-class background, it might be dismissed as trashy. And if you're a middle-class white woman, your sexual expression is often misinterpreted as desperate romantic longing in disguise. The culture demands that students act like they don't care about romance to avoid seeming desperate. But guess what? Women often find themselves losing this game of who cares less, and it's rigging the system against authentic connection. Now, here's something that will blow your mind. During my research across college campuses, I discovered something fascinating. Virtually every student I interviewed believed they were the only person who wanted to go on actual dates. Can you imagine? Room after room of students, each convinced they were some kind of romantic anomaly in a sea of hookup-obsessed peers. I started joking with students, telling them to literally look around as they left my interviews. See that attractive person walking in? Ask them out. I guarantee they want a date too. It became almost comical. All these lonely hearts convinced they were the only ones craving genuine connection. When I analyzed data from 68 students across Catholic, private secular, and public institutions, 54% said dating was either rare or completely non-existent on their campuses. Another 34% described it as mixed. Some long-term relationships existed, especially among upperclassmen, but casual hookups dominated the scene. Here's the kicker. Only 12% claimed dating was common. But when I dug deeper, they weren't talking about traditional dating at all. They meant people who eventually became exclusive after a series of hookups. That's not dating, that's hookup roulette with the occasional relationship jackpot. The gender dynamics are particularly revealing. Nearly a quarter of students believed women wanted dates more than men, while less than 1% thought men and women shared equal interest in dating. One junior guy explained it perfectly. Women might want stable relationships more, but they've lowered their standards because they believe finding a serious partner is impossible. So they settle for hookups, hoping lightning might strike. A first-year female student put it even more bluntly. Men have an abundance of choices and little motivation to commit to just one person. Women end up in these weird, ambiguous, open relationships where the guy maintains his freedom while keeping the woman on call. She called it serial hookups, right? Which most students have convinced themselves is the same as dating. Spoiler alert, it's not. Not a single student I interviewed described entering a committed relationship through traditional dates, dinners, coffee, walks, movies, sporting events. They hadn't even seen this happen among their friends. Not because they didn't want it, but because it simply doesn't exist in their college ecosystem anymore. Let's talk about alcohol, the unofficial fuel of hookup culture. One student perfectly captured this dynamic. First-year students feel pressured to hook up, and alcohol helps create the right mental state. It's more available in college than high school, people lose their inhibitions, and they use drinking as justification for promiscuous behavior. The statistics are sobering, and I use that word intentionally. A 2007 study in addictive behaviors found that 32% of college students admitted to unprotected sex after drinking. Even more striking, 55% of sexual encounters with non-steady partners involved alcohol. Here's something fascinating. Hookup culture is virtually absent at evangelical colleges with strict no-alcohol policies. The correlation is so strong it's almost impossible to ignore. While I can't definitively prove causation, the connection between drinking culture and hookup culture is undeniable. But here's where perception and reality diverge again. Students love to blame alcohol for campus behavior, just not their behavior. It's always affecting other people. When I surveyed students about combining alcohol with sexual activity, nearly 25% said they'd never done it, and over 27% said they rarely did. That's more than half claiming minimal involvement, yet 48% admitted to drinking or using drugs during sexual encounters at least sometimes. That's substantial, but it's not the universal campus experience everyone assumes. There's this fascinating disconnect between how students perceive campus-wide behavior versus their own choices. The truth is nuanced. Alcohol absolutely enables hookup culture by lowering inhibitions and providing social cover for decisions people might not make sober. But it's not the whole story, it's more like the social lubricant that makes an already existing system flow more smoothly. Now we enter some of the most troubling territory in modern hookup culture. I've interviewed countless young men who describe a disturbing pattern, pornographic imagery involuntarily intruding into their sexual experiences, especially during casual encounters. Andy put it perfectly. During sex, I try not to let porn scenes invade my thoughts, but I can't control it. I feel guilty because my partner doesn't know about my porn consumption. Tony expressed similar anxiety. I hope my partner never discovers the thoughts running through my mind during intimate moments. The physical standards promoted in pornography have become unconscious benchmarks: large, artificially enhanced breasts, completely hairless bodies, impossibly toned physiques. These images make real partners with natural, diverse bodies seem less appealing by comparison. Josh was brutally honest about this influence. I prefer partners who are shaved, well-oiled, and physically toned like actors in films. If my girlfriend didn't meet these standards, I'd think she wasn't making an effort to look attractive for me and herself. But it's not just physical appearance. Pornography creates behavioral expectations that are completely divorced from reality. These productions depict women as constantly eager for aggressive sex and intensely responsive to every stimulus. Real relationships? They're far more complex, nuanced, and authentic. Robert described the struggle many men face. Even after purging my collection and canceling subscriptions, pornographic thoughts persist. It makes me feel like I'm emotionally cheating. The addiction-like quality of this content creates mental templates that interfere with genuine intimacy. I'll never forget a conversation with a couple after one of my lectures. The girlfriend was devastated because her boyfriend wanted to incorporate porn into their relationship. He thought it would provide novel ideas and enhance their connection. She felt degraded, saying, "I tolerate his personal use, but I reject its intrusion into our shared experiences." Certain things he does seem dictated by what he's seen in films. This highlights a fundamental conflict. Intimate connection should be about shared physical and emotional experiences, genuine sensitivity to each other's needs. Instead, pornography has primed many young men to approach sex as an emotionally detached physical transaction. One man even described learning about women through porn as purely instructional for masturbation. The tragedy is how this creates a massive divide between authentic human intimacy and industrially produced sexual templates. Real connection requires vulnerability, communication, and mutual discovery, everything pornography actively undermines. Let's pivot to the digital landscape that's reshaped modern romance. Online dating has become integral to social life. Creative, widespread, exciting, and absolutely exhausting. The likelihood of being asked out through a digital platform now exceeds traditional in-person invitations. But here's the massive disconnect. Many apps marketing themselves as dating platforms primarily serve hookup culture. Male users, especially, often treat dating sites as hookup marketplaces, disguising casual sexual pursuits under the veneer of seeking connections. For individuals seeking meaningful relationships, particularly within the queer community, finding openly interested, engaging, attractive people can be incredibly challenging. But this difficulty shouldn't drive anyone, especially teens, toward adult-oriented hookup applications that pose serious risks. Online dating is legitimate. Countless people form significant relationships and marriages after meeting digitally. However, more common outcomes involve a few dates followed by gradual fading interest. The digital environment emphasizes speed and volume over substance, making it nearly impossible to truly understand another person. We've become addicted to the convenience of swiping and clicking, treating potential partners like items in an online marketplace wish list. But nurturing relationships extends far beyond these simple actions. The fundamental challenge is building emotional and physical intimacy in a medium designed for surface-level interactions. Healthy relationships require vulnerability, genuine desire for a specific person rather than endless profile options, and transparency beyond curated online representations. Real emotional expression surpasses emojis. Authentic human interaction extends beyond digital affirmations like upvotes and likes. The skills developed through online interactions might refine communication abilities, but they cannot replace face-to-face intimacy. If cultivating meaningful relationships were as streamlined as online platforms suggest, far more people would find themselves in satisfying partnerships. The reality? Dating is just the initial stage. True connection requires navigating relationship complexities not just with romantic partners, but with friends and family too. Here's something that might surprise you. Hookup culture perpetuates a distinct form of gender inequality that actually dates back to the 1920s. Men wield influence over both love and sex, effectively transforming women into competitors for male attention. This dynamic may have intensified on college campuses where women now outnumber men. Today's college environment eerily echoes post-World War II America, when the scarcity of men cultivated perceptions of women as overly eager for romantic partners. A woman's attractiveness remains a primary indicator of her perceived worth, with men serving as judges of sex appeal. While some women find this empowering, it can simultaneously be intimidating and emotionally devastating. Men often seek validation from male peers, sometimes prioritizing their own satisfaction, while withholding pleasure from women to impress other guys. Women focus intensely on being attractive enough to captivate men, frequently at the expense of their own pleasure and autonomy. Perhaps most disappointingly, hookup culture has failed to integrate progressive aspects of gay liberation, embracing diverse identities and practices that deviate from heteronormative standards. The culture remains largely unwelcoming to non-heterosexual desires and rarely fosters environments where heterosexuality isn't the default assumption. The risks associated with campus sexual activity persist at alarming levels. A 1957 study, the earliest known research on campus sexual assault, revealed that 21% of college women experienced attempted or completed sexual assault. That figure remains virtually unchanged today. Hookup culture perpetuates this trend by potentially inciting sexual aggression in otherwise non-aggressive men and providing cover for genuine predators. Pleasure and danger remain intertwined, and society hasn't found ways to minimize danger without stifling pleasure. Feminist efforts to create landscapes where women and men engage as sexual equals have made partial progress. They've opened doors for women, enabling pursuit of traditionally male-dominated professions, embracing ambition, and enjoying casual sex. But they've encountered massive resistance in encouraging men to embrace traditionally female roles. Society remains reluctant to reward men for pursuing nurturing roles, caring activities, and prioritizing intimate relationships. This creates a fundamental imbalance. Women have been partially liberated to act like traditional men, but men haven't been encouraged to embrace traditionally feminine qualities like emotional vulnerability and relationship investment. So where does this leave us? Hookup culture represents both unprecedented sexual freedom and deeply entrenched problems that span generations. It's simultaneously liberating and limiting, empowering and exploitative. The students I've interviewed aren't villains or victims. They're young people navigating a complex cultural landscape that promises easy connection but often delivers emotional confusion. They're seeking authentic relationships in a system that seems designed to prevent them. The path forward isn't about eliminating hookup culture or returning to some mythical golden age of dating. It's about creating space for genuine choice, where students can pursue casual encounters or meaningful relationships without social pressure or judgment. We need to challenge the gender stereotypes that poison authentic connection. We need to address the pornography problem that's distorting young men's expectations. We need to recognize that alcohol might be facilitating choices that students wouldn't make sober. And we need to acknowledge that digital platforms, while convenient, cannot replace the vulnerability and growth that comes from face-to-face human connection. Most importantly, we need to help young people understand that wanting love, commitment, and emotional intimacy isn't desperate or pathetic. It's fundamentally human. In a culture that celebrates who cares less, perhaps it's time to celebrate those brave enough to care more. The hookup culture experiment has taught us valuable lessons about sexual freedom, gender dynamics, and human connection. Now it's time to take those lessons and build something better, a culture that honors both sexual liberation and emotional authenticity, where young people can explore their desires while still believing in the possibility of love. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that hookup culture is a complex, deeply personal topic, shaped by diverse perspectives, especially those of women navigating these modern connections. If you want to dive deeper into questions like, what are most women's views towards hookup culture? Why are many women against it? And do women prioritize male pleasure during hookups? Head over to the Skoob app. Download Skoob now on the App Store or Google Play to unlock the full experience and get the full story. I'm Zoya Sinclair, and this has been Hookups. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.